We're going to look at the final day of the Premier League season. Now we're joined in the studio by sports broadcaster Aidan Magee. Aidan, a very good morning to you. So much to play for. Normally, by the last day of the season, there are some places that are set in stone. Someone's run away with it at the top. A few people have relegated at the bottom, but it's all to play for.
Completely. I mean, literally all to play for, Paul. I mean, it's never been known before in Premier League history, and that's going back 30 years now. Every single position in the table, 1 to 20, can change. And don't forget, each individual place in the table is worth £3 million. So Aston Villa, for example, can go from 14th to 10th today. Yes, they've got to go to Manchester City and win, but that would be worth £12 million in prize money. It's quite obscene in some ways, but yeah, issues to be decided at the top, just below the top in the Champions League, and at the bottom as well, even the Europa League and the Conference. And I'm pleased to say that alongside me is the former England international Danny Mills, because Danny, you have a horse in every race or every key issue up and down the table: Manchester City, Norwich, and Leeds. I'm going to start with the first of those, the one at the top, Manchester City, of course. Surely with Aston Villa at home, it's a chance they can't afford to miss up to make it 4 Premier League titles in 5 years.
I'd be very surprised, Aidan, if they did. You know, Manchester City, very, very strong. Both Liverpool and Manchester City had a little bit of a blip, with those draws. But I think Manchester City, the way they are at the moment, they will be so determined. After missing out on the Champions League, they know that they have to win the Premier League. I expect it to be a fast start from them. I'd be very surprised if they don't go 2-0 up very, very early on, 3 then later. And at that stage, Aston Villa players are not thinking about any sort of bonuses. In fact, players won't get probably any bonuses for finishing outside the European places. So anything from probably 7th to 16th probably makes no difference to them at all financially. So I can see Manchester City running away with this one.
Danny, you seem very confident. I would be very confident as well in Manchester City's position. If you've got to play Villa at home, then you can't really mess it up, can you? But do you not think there's a little bit of a factor with Steven Gerrard going there? He was unfulfilled as a Liverpool player in terms of winning the Premier League. He has a chance to inflict a little bit of damage with his club today, with his new club today. Of course, it's a tall order, though, isn't it?
Of course it is. But every team that's gone to the Etihad this season has wanted to do that. Everybody wants to beat the champions. You know, that's one of the most important things. You know, when you're, even if you've just come up or you're one of those lower league teams, you say, right, okay, let's beat the champions. Let's try and get that scalp on our CV. Steven Gerrard will not be thinking about Liverpool in any way, shape or form during this. You know, he will be thinking about Aston Villa, what he can do and how good it makes him look if he wins that game. Obviously, it has happened. Manchester City have lost at home before. But realistically, I just don't see it happening today.
Well, about just the kind of the trends and the dynamics of the last sort of 4 or 5 years or so, we've seen Liverpool very impressive in the Champions League. They're in another final, of course, reached the final in 2018, won it in 2019. For City, it's an egg, it's a nut that they just can't seem to crack. Why is it that City, though, have the upper hand in the Premier League and Liverpool rather tend to do well in the Champions League? What's the difference between the two teams?
I think for the last few seasons, Liverpool's squad depth has been a little bit behind Manchester City. Obviously had that exceptional season when they won the Premier League and they've gone close a couple of times, but maybe that's down to the fact their squad wasn't deep enough. They weren't able to rotate. 38 games is an awful lot. To keep that consistency, to get through those injury issues, suspensions, dips in form, all those types of things is very, very difficult. That's why everyone always says, you know, that the marker is to win the league. To get through that 38 games and finish top of the pile is huge. Liverpool now, in their recruitment in the last probably couple of seasons, have a squad to rival Manchester City. And I think that's now why you're seeing Liverpool able to do better in all competitions across the board. They've always had fantastic players, but as we all know, to win the Champions League or to get to the final of the Champions League, realistically, you have to play 7 or 8 great games, because in those early rounds, you're playing so-called lesser sides, which you beat fairly easily, often with an understrength side. So strength and depth of the two squads now is exceptional.
Danny, morning, it's Paul here. I was just wondering what you felt about the psychological difference between the two teams, because as I understand it, City have been knocked out of the Champions League on quite a few occasions, conceding late goals, whereas Liverpool hang in there and do a professional job to the end. And I'm just wondering what the way the two sides are set up and the way they're coached psychologically from that point of view, the mental strength.
It's really interesting, and I think that comes down to the managers. When you look at when and how Pep has gone out of the Champions League, I think it's 7 or 8 times Pep's teams have conceded goals late on, very, very quickly in a short space of time. Sort of 2-3 goals within the space of 20 minutes. I think as less as sort of 5 or 6 minutes at times. And that does start to sort of, Pep will maybe start to second guess himself at times. And we've seen him make 1 or 2 tactical errors, I think, in those one-off games in the Champions League. Jurgen Klopp, a slightly different mentality with his brand of football, and they just keep going. And I think sometimes the crowd plays a huge part in that. Manchester City fans haven't really bought into the Champions League. We know they've had 1 or 2 issues with UEFA over the course of time. But Liverpool at Anfield, European nights, because of their history, have always had something special. And we've seen some incredible turnarounds at Anfield. And I think sometimes that crowd, the manager, that mentality, all goes into the melting pot to get them over the line. And City have yet to find their verve in the Champions League.
Danny, just a couple of questions in one, if you will. Just looking ahead to, or looking at the slightly lower down, you've got the Champions League race. Is it going to be Arsenal or Tottenham? And of course, Norwich, your old club. Can they put any kind of fight up against Tottenham and give Arsenal a route into the Champions League, do you feel?
No, is the answer to that. Even with alleged, food poisoning or, going back lasagna gate, whatever it was back in the day, I think Tottenham will be far too strong for Norwich. I think, Son, Kane, whether he plays or not, whether he's fit. Again, I think Norwich will put up a good fight in the first sort of 10 minutes or so, but the quality will shine through. Arsenal had their chance and they've blown it. Having said that, if you look at where Arsenal are now, if you'd have said to them at the beginning of the season, you finish 5th, they'd have probably taken that, and actually on reflection, looking at the bigger picture, that's a good season for them. But because they were, in that position to take 4th place and almost giving it away back to Tottenham, they will feel very, very disappointed. So I cannot see anything but Tottenham making it to the Champions League.
Danny, Leeds, what's going to happen to them today?
Well, this is really interesting, isn't it? If Burnley win, that's it. Forget it. It's all over. I think, unless Leeds put up the biggest score ever in the Premier League, which, realistically isn't going to happen. I think it's going to be tight. I think it's going to be late on. There could be lots of drama and plenty of twists down at the bottom. I can see Burnley getting beat. I think I predicted earlier in the week that Burnley get beat 2-1. And I just think that there might be something about Leeds where they get something late on. Leeds never do it the easy way. They got promoted under Bielsa under sort of difficult circumstances, a bit of a car crash first time round in the playoffs, fantastic first season in the Premier League. So this might be a bit of head ruling heart, but I'm hoping for a Burnley loss and a Leeds draw, and that's Leeds in the Premier League next season.
And Danny, thanks very much indeed for joining us. We're loving your background, by the way. It's GBNews.
I was just wondering, what's in those boxes?
Boxes is just little bits and pieces. It's just one of those, and it tidy up all the nonsense. And either side of me, just in there, is England caps, etc. Those types of things. And
brilliant!
Not too many of them.
Great stuff.
Great to see you, Danny. Thanks very much indeed. Enjoy this afternoon's action.
Cheers. Thanks.